Hello friends, welcome to another session of Emotional Café. I'm Xiomara Mayo Ingram, and today I want to share with you about social values. I want to define with you what social values are because we are referring to those specific norms and parameters that rule people's actions in society. And they are a mean to ensure that we can coexist harmoniously with others in society, in the society that we live in or that we're part of. And sometimes this can be classified as ethical values or moral values, but they're different because they are more related to the way we interact. They're more related to the behavior pattern within a group. And as we practice these social values and we nurture them, these kind of have an impact on the rest of the people that we interact with. Probably you've seen when someone does something good, how the media, not only the social media, but also the news reported as a way to try to invite and encourage this kind of behavior. Because the way that we act when it comes to social values, they have a positive impact or negative in some cases within a society, within the world that we live in. And I have some important considerations because sometimes we think about social values and we think that this is something that we're going to learn out there in the society, in the community. But the truth is that we are first exposed to social values within our family system. And this is something that I have talked about previously. When we've talked about values, it's just amazing how pretty much everything we've learned within the family system. However, it is extremely important that we understand that each person goes adopting these values that we're learning, but also forming their own concepts and beliefs and values. And the reason why I wanted to clarify that is because sometimes we have a very noble family and then one of its members commits a crime or does something really bad that society despises. That doesn't mean that that family is not noble anymore, but it means that that particular member of that family, although it was exposed to the good values that this family shared, the individual, made their own choices, made their own, formed their own concepts. And we need to be aware of this because, again, as we're growing up, we are learning not only from our family, but also from the environment, also from the things that we're exposed, also from the experiences, also from school and everywhere that we interact with others. Now, the most important and necessary social values, I brought a list because these are the general behaviors that I can say most people, or better said, all people are required to develop within any social system. And these values are peace, which is the capacity to coexist with others around us in a respectful and pleasant setting. Peace goes hand in hand with respect, because when we show respect, what it really means is that we understand that others think and act in a different way than us, but I respect the way they think, I respect the way they behave, I respect the way they act, and at the same time they respect me. I don't go criticizing because they don't think the way I do or they don't act the way I think they should, but rather than that, I let them be. And I am who I am, and they are who they are. And by respecting each other, we create peace. We create an environment that is peaceful, and in which we can coexist in harmony. So peace and respect goes hand in hand. Equality means that we treat each other equally, recognizing that we have the same privileges, the same rights, the same obligations, regardless our financial or social level, regardless our religion or race or gender. So equality is also very important for society. Solidarity is one of the most important values because it means that we feel we have the capacity to relate to others and feel empathy with whatever happens to them. It is extremely important, and again, this is the reason why when a tragedy strikes, when something bad happens, we see it everywhere as a way to invite us all to feel empathy and to relate to those who have been suffering from any circumstances, any tragic circumstances, as a way to unite in prayers, in good wishes, but it's a way to encourage and foster that sense of the whole community, the whole world community in our society. We also have responsibility, which is the capacity to honor the commitments on a personal or working level. As part of a community and a society, we sometimes have specific obligations or social tasks that we need to take care of. And that's what responsibility is about, honoring those commitments. And one of the amazing things that I've been experiencing and witnessing today is the lack of social values in our society. And there are many reasons why I think this happens. And one of them is the lack of teaching and learning social values. We're having people growing up without their families teaching them any social values, and then they get together with another person, they have kids, but they don't take the time to teach social values to their kids. And then we have this legacy perpetuated of people with no social values. We are suffering from the lack of modeling social values. I remember when I was a little kid, when I used to go to a friend's house, those parents, my friend's parents, they have the authority given by my parents to make any correction that they needed. If I was misbehaving, they could give me some time out, they could send me back home, you know. And not only that, but I would go home and I would have to deal with my mom having to make the corrections herself or punish me or whatever. So when I was growing up, I felt that there was this united front between parents and my friends' parents and my teachers. Everybody was on the same page and they wouldn't allow certain behaviors. It's amazing how today it seems like no one cares about anything at all. You see kids being disrespectful to the parents don't make any corrections, the other people around them don't make any corrections. No one seems to care. Actually, if a teacher makes a correction, then everybody's on top of that teacher, because the teacher is no longer responsible to actually educate when it comes to moral values or social values or anything but the academic knowledge. So this is the kind of thing that we are dealing with nowadays. The lack of teaching and learning social values, the lack of modeling social values, the lack of continuity. We don't have people reinforcing these values anymore. As a matter of fact, we also have the social media and the audiovisuals as TV and music and movies bombarding us with the wrong messages. It's amazing. For every good message that is sent out there, there's probably 5 or 6 that are negative messages. And it's sad. And again, I'm not saying that social medias are bad or TV is bad or the media is bad, but I am saying that the kind of thing that we are exposed and the way we let it affect us, the kind of thing that sometimes we take the time to see, is disgusting. Yes, that's my personal opinion. And I totally disagree. How we have let these things rule our lives and rule the way that we act, to the point that we see people doing things just because they saw it in a video in the social media, regardless how bad it is. And that's what I am against of. Defining your social values. What does your social interactions reflect? What kind of friends do you have? How do you treat your friends? How do you treat others that are not your closest friends? When people see you out there interacting with strangers, what do they see? What is important to you as a social person, not as an individual, but as a social person, as part of the society or a community? What ideas, what behaviors, what attitudes, what activities are important to you as a social person? What and how would you like others to perceive you when they see you? These are the kind of questions that are going to help you define what your social values are. Also, we need to remember, when we're talking about social values, I think it's a great opportunity to remind you about the anti-values, which is the opposite to the values. Those behaviors and attitudes considered dangerous that degrade us and take our human sensitivity from us. And I can I can name some samples. I can give you some samples of anti-values, so you can actually keep an eye on these in case that, as I said before, it's something that either you learned or you pick from the environment as you were growing up, and that maybe somehow they come across or they come out in your daily lives. I'm talking about disrespect, dishonesty, injustice, intolerance, cruelty, racism, pride, hatred, arrogance, betrayal, division, infidelity, ignorance, laziness, irresponsibility. All these are things that are negative. And if you find yourself affected by any of these, this is a great opportunity for you to actually make a stop and realize that these are affecting you and get rid of them and commit to get rid of them. You can think about what are the social values that you learned in your childhood when you were growing up. Can you name them? Can you actually see them? I gave you some examples before, like peace, respect, tolerance, and all those, but think about it. Make a list yourself of what social values you can actually think that are part of your life and that you learned while you were growing up, and which ones of those are being reflected in your interpersonal relationships. Remember that social values had to do with the way you interact with others. Think about some possible anti-values that are there, as I told you, affecting you, and decide that you don't want their negative impact anymore. Accept that we are all social beings. Sometimes you might say, oh, I don't like people. But you know what? We have to deal with people whether we like it or not. So these are simple recommendations for you in regards to your social values. You need to accept that we are going to have to interact with others. And identifying those social values that you have might help you feel better about yourself when you interact with others. You need to define which of those values you want to continue developing and nurturing. But at the same time, you need to define if there are other values that you realize you don't have, or that so far you haven't practiced in your life, that you would like to incorporate them. You would like to make them yours and adopt them and make them part of your life. Identify those anti-values that you might have picked from, from your childhood environment, and make the serious commitment not to let them rule your life, your attitudes, your behaviors. And finally, I want to remind you that we are part of a whole. We're part of a society. We are responsible to act according to those social rules that have been already given by society itself to us, to all of us. And each one of us is responsible to develop and practice their social values and to get rid of those anti-values that might be affecting your interpersonal relationships. Don't forget, my friends, that you are responsible to continue with your emotional growth. And as I have said in all this series of value sessions, when we are growing emotionally, it has an impact in all areas of our lives. I'm Xiomara Mayo Ingram, and I hope to see you next time with our Emotional Cafe session. Thank you for joining me today.